every year. Around 50,000 people go missing in Australia. Most of them are found, but thousands are not. And here's what almost nobody tells you. Most of these disappearances happen in one place, the interior, a region larger than all of Western Europe. No cities, no signal, almost no people. And if you go in, sometimes you don't come back. 95% of Australia is empty. That's the official explanation. Desert, heat, no water. And yes, that's part of the truth. But not all of it, because people have tried to live there over and over again for centuries, and every time, something goes wrong. Australia is almost the same size as the United States, but the population isn't even close. Over 300 million people live in the US. Australia, just 26 million. California alone has more people than the entire continent. One island, Java, has nearly 6 times more people than Australia, and it's 6 times smaller. Tokyo alone has more people than all of Australia. But here's where it gets strange. More than 90% of Australians live within 50 kilometers of the coast, which means almost the entire interior is empty, massive, ancient, and almost untouched. There's a region in Western Australia about the size of Japan. It has around 10,000 people. Half of them live in one small town, the size of Japan, with the population of a high school. So the question is, what's actually keeping people out? Yes, it's dry. Australia is the driest inhabited continent on Earth, but dryness alone doesn't explain this. The real answer starts with the mountains. The Great Dividing Range runs along the entire eastern coast, and it acts like a wall. Rain comes in from the Pacific, it hits the mountains and then falls there, right where people live. But once it crosses over, and it's gone. The clouds move inland and empty, and the interior suddenly gets almost nothing. But here's the problem. These mountains aren't very tall. Australia's highest peak is just over 2,000 meters, lower than parts of Colorado, not high enough to control the system, so the land stays dry. Not because there's no moisture, but because it can't hold it. And then, people found something underground, something that looked like the answer, but it wasn't. Beneath Australia lies one of the largest underground water reserves on Earth, the Great Artesian Basin. When settlers discovered it in the 1800s, they thought they had the answer. Drill down, get water, build civilization. And at first, it worked. A farmer named John Knott drilled one of the first wells. Water came up, but not the kind they expected, boiling, scalding hot, and filled with salt and minerals. After millions of years underground, it wasn't life-giving, it was toxic. Farmers used it on their fields and watched the soil turn white, a thick crust of salt. Nothing could grow. The land died. There is water under Australia, enormous amounts of it, and almost none of it is usable. So people tried something else. They decided they would force civilization onto the land, but the land had an answer for that too. There's a town in the Outback called Farina. Once, people lived here. They walked its streets. Trains stopped at the platform. Pubs were open. Children went to school. Families built lives here and believed they always would. Then, the rain stopped. The wells dried up. The land turned to dust, and people began to leave, one by one. They left behind their homes, their furniture, their tools, everything they built. Today, Farina still stands. In the middle of the desert, walls still standing, but the streets empty. A monument to a simple idea that humans can tame any land. They can't, not here. And Farina isn't the only one. Across the Australian interior, there's a chain of dead towns. Each one started with hope. Each one ended in silence. But here's the part you won't find in geography books. Some of these places didn't just fail. People disappeared from them. Every year in Australia, Over 50,000 people are reported missing. Most are found, but thousands are not. And many of those cases don't happen in the same place, the interior, on roads surrounded by hundreds of kilometers of nothing. In 2017, a man named Paddy Moriarty disappeared from a town called Larima, population 12 people. He left the local bar, got on his bicycle and rode home. He never made it. Police searched everything, but they found nothing. No body, no bike, no dog, no trace, nothing. In 2025, a 4-year-old boy vanished in South Australia. He was playing near a farm, and in less than an hour, he was gone. Hundreds of people searched. Helicopters, drones, days passed, but the trail just stopped. These cases share one thing. They happen in a place where the land itself seems to swallow people, where distances are so vast, help can be days away, where the desert keeps its secrets, but there's something else out there, something even harder to explain, and it's been seen by too many people to ignore. In 1918, a man named Henry Anderson was riding alone through the Outback, near a place called Boulia. It was dark, silent, nothing around him. And then he saw it, a light, floating just above the ground, moving toward him. He rode away. It followed. He stopped. It stopped. And then it disappeared. People in this part of Australia call them Min lights. They've been reported for over a century. Scientists say it's just light, atmospheric refraction, a mirage, something distant bent through layers of air. And in some cases, that might be true, but not all of them. Not the ones that appear in total darkness, far from any road, far from any town, far from any light source. And not the ones where the people who saw them weren't there the next morning. Coincidence? Maybe. But out here, that word doesn't mean much. There is one place in the Australian interior where it actually worked, but not by fighting the land, by going underneath it. Coober Pedy. In summer, temperatures rise above 50 degrees. So people adapted. They carved their homes into the rock. Underground houses, underground hotels, underground shops, even churches, an entire town hidden below the surface. But above them is something else. Tens of thousands of abandoned mine shafts. Some of them unmarked, some of them invisible in the dark. Locals have a rule. At night, don't wander. Step off the path, just a few meters, and you can fall, straight down, into a shaft, with no visible bottom. The only place where people built a life here, did it by hiding underground. And even then, they surrounded themselves with holes that have swallowed people who weren't careful. The land doesn't want people here. And it's made that clear, again and again, for centuries. So, back to where we started. That map, those lights along the edges, and that enormous dark center. Now we know why it's empty. The geology, the heat, the lack of rain, the water underground that poisons the soil, the distances that make survival almost impossible. But we also know something else. People tried. For centuries, they built towns, they drilled wells, they stretched telegraph lines across thousands of kilometers of nothing. They brought families, dreams, plans, and the land took most of it back. Today, that center is still dark, still empty, still ancient, still keeping whatever it keeps. And every year, then a few thousand people go in and don't come back. So the question isn't why Australia is empty. The real question is what does it take to make a place this vast, this rich, this enormous, simply refuse to be filled? If you want to see what happens when people try to cross one of the most extreme parts of this continent, the Nullarbor, that video is next. Subscribe, because that one has a body count.